guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nidhi and you're watching my series on how to become a cabin crew. So today we're going to talk about British Airways and how you can become a cabin crew with the flag carrier of United Kingdom. Now, most of the hiring actually happens in UK itself. They do have cabin crew for their mixed fleet as well. If you actually go online, you can actually go ahead and see at the opportunities available. I'm going to quickly take you through as to how you can look at some of the current opportunities. So this is how you can go to their website, and then you can press on the career section right at the bottom. When you do that, it takes you to the career page itself, where you can check out the cabin crew related opportunities. So they've been hiring mixed fleet crew. As you can see, they require Japanese speaking crew. They are also looking for the normal cabin crew hiring that happens in United Kingdom, and recently they're actually hiring from India as well. So I'm gonna go through the interview process with you guys. I'm actually gonna also share with you some of the tips as to how you can successfully clear some of these rounds along the way. I did have a student a long time back who was trying to apply for British Airways, and she did share with me quite a lot of in terms of the interview process. And one of my very good friends who flies for a very reputed airline in UK as well, he has been very kind to share some information with me as well quite recently. So I'm gonna combine all of that together for you and put in this video. So first and foremost, let's talk about what are the requirements to become a cabin crew with British Airways. So depending upon where they're hiring cabin crew from, the requirements would definitely change. So you would have to go ahead and look into the requirements based on the hiring location. So I'm going to take you through two of them at this point in time. I'm going to take you through the current one in India. So if you look at the job opportunity and go under the description section, it talks about the minimum age being 18. You have to be a high school certified or a graduate. You should be able to speak English, Hindi and Telugu. So basically you need to know 3 languages. This is for India in particular for the current hiring. You have to have a valid Indian passport with a validity of minimum 1 year. Your minimum height should be 5'2" and maximum 6'2". So basically they're hiring both male and female candidates. Because they haven't really specified any particular height criteria for female or male. That's what it means. So they're looking for any and everyone in between 5'2" and 6'2". They also require you to have minimum 1 year of customer service experience. Now this experience does not necessarily have to be face-to-face. It could be like a call center experience where basically you're talking to your clients over the phone. These are some of the things that they're looking at, and they're also hiring team leaders from Hyderabad itself. So this vacancy is basically for Hyderabad opening. The base is going to be in Hyderabad, so whenever you get selected, you will be located in Hyderabad. However, these are some of the requirements. So for team leader, the only difference in terms of the qualifications is that you have to have 12 months of experience on top of all of this in people management. So you should be a supervisor, or you should be leading a team, and you should have at least 1 year experience in that role, apart from having all the other requirements taken care of for this particular opportunity. If you fall in this category of all the check that you need to make, you can email your resume to beacabin@transitionhrd.com along with the copies of education and work experience certificates, a copy of your passport and a recent passport size and full length photograph. And also you need to provide a local contact number and a mobile number. So the applications must reach them by 29th of September. So this is basically for the Hyderabad vacancy. So basically, what is it that they're looking for to begin with to becoming a cabin crew with British Airways? If you actually go down, it talks about some of the key skills that they look in their cabin crew. So they're looking for people who are passionate for delivering excellent and exceptional customer service. They're looking for people who are very hardworking and resilient, which means that you're able to handle all sort of situations emotionally, mentally, physically. You're open to change and innovation. So British Airways believes in a lot of innovative stuff, It believes in doing things that brings about change. So if you're that kind of personality who's a go-getter, who wants to adapt to things, who's very, very flexible, this job is definitely for you. And of course, they're looking for people who are empathetic. Now, one of the reasons as to why I'm actually sharing this with you is because I always share this in my videos. Whenever you're going for an interview for a particular airline, it's very important to actually take a look at the cabin crew of that particular airline to see what are some of the qualities that make them stand out from a different airline crew. I know the qualities sort of remain the same for most airlines crew, but there's something very different about each airline cabin crew. So for British Airways, and that is basically reflected in the values that airline talks about. So if you look at the overall values of British Airways, they're looking for people who are empathetic, they're looking for people who are resilient, they're looking for people who are hardworking, they're looking for people who are open to change, they're looking for people who are really, really passionate in delivering customer service. So when you go for that interview, these are some of the qualities you want to display a lot. In not just in terms of how you carry yourself, but in your answers, in your presentation, in how you portray yourself as an interviewee to the interviewer. So that would make a huge difference in your selection process, and that will make you stand out from the rest of the candidates. So I'm not going to go through the salary and the benefits because that is something very clearly mentioned on the website itself, so you can go ahead and look that up. But I do want to talk about the interview process. Okay, so I want to talk about the interview process with all of you here, and I'm going to share with you some of the tips along the way as to what is going to make it easier for you to clear that interview process, because from what I've heard, the interview process is quite challenging and it's actually quite tough. They're very, very rigorous with their interview process. So first and foremost, in a normal process, for British Airways, you have to submit an application online where you have to go ahead and fill in all your details, and there's going to be an online test, an initial screening that takes place. If you clear that, you get invited to their assessment center for the further tests. So that's the first round in a normal situation. But I just want to share with you guys as to how it's going to be in India, because it's a little bit different. For India in particularly, for the current opening, they have asked you to submit your application with all your resume, educational certificates and everything to them. So the first round most likely is going to be sort of an initial screening, which could be more like a telephonic conversation. Or possibly an online test that they would want you to take, or a video interview. So it could be either of these formats that you might have to go through when it comes to their assessment. Do share with me if you go through any of that, or if you've been through any of that process before, so you know it makes it easier for me to share it with everyone else as well. But the thing that you need to remember is that an initial screening is the same as the other initial screening that I've been talking about, because understand that first screening is always about making an impression. So you have to remember that even if it's a video call, even if it's a phone call, how you present yourself makes a lot of difference. So if it's a phone call, you have to make sure that you answer all questions properly, you sound confident enough, you portray that smile through your conversation over the phone. If it's a video interview, remember your grooming would make a lot of difference. So these are some of the things that you might have to take note of. And of course for India, because they are looking for people who can speak English, Hindi and Telugu, there is a very high chance that they would want to do some sort of language assessment as well as part of their initial screening. So this is something that I have known from a friend of mine who has gotten some information from his friend who is working for British Airways. So this is what happened as part of the initial assessment rounds for the friend that he is friend with. Okay, moving on. Basically, if you clear this round, then they will call you on for the assessment day. So assessment day is basically pretty much the same for most of the locations that they conduct interview at. It starts with height test, reach test and things like that. They would want to take a look at your documentation in case. And then from there on, British Airways does a lot of group activities, role plays, group discussions, group tasks as part of their assessment. And of course, there's going to be also a psychometric test. So again, the psychometric test can be part of the online assessment, or it could be part of the test that you will be conducting on the assessment day. Now, psychometric test is basically testing your logical behavioral ability. I've talked about it in some of my other videos. Some of the questions revolve around understanding how you would behave if you were in a team, how would you behave if you were given a task, how would you understand something, how would you emotionally react to something. So basically just understanding your behavior, understanding how you would react to situationals is part of psychometric tests. Also the tests would include checking your English comprehension, understanding, usually these tests are quite easy. Basically they just want to understand whether you have English comprehension. Are you able to use the right words at the right time? So they don't really make it really tough. You really have to attempt it from an understanding that you're a customer service person, and the words that you would want to use are basically customer service oriented, especially when it comes to English understanding and reasoning. They don't really take a lot of those tests where they want to test your verb and adverb knowledge. It's really about understanding using the right words, and do you understand, do you comprehend, and things like that. So that would be part of the assessment. And from what I know, sometimes there could be a numeracy test as well, which is maths test. This is again to test basically your logical and reasoning ability. So as I understand, the test is actually not going to be very difficult, but it's just that you have to use some logic and reasoning abilities to be able to clear that test, regardless of whether it's online or whether it's conducted at the assessment center. And once that is done, you will progress to the next stage where, as I said, they'll be doing a lot of role plays and group discussions. So as part of role plays, from what I know, British Airways is very famous for doing like a one-to-one role play where they actually become customers and they want you to become a cabin crew, and then they'll give you situations where they can ask you questions like, so what if you run out of meal choice? What if your passenger does not want to eat this particular choice of meal? What if your passenger is sick? What if the passenger is complaining about something? What if the passenger doesn't want to store the bag in the overhead compartment? So it's a very real life situational based questions that they'll be asking you in role play. What you basically need to understand is, go ahead and watch my video where I've talked about how to apply solution method whenever you are faced with situational related questions, which will give you a really good idea on how you can attempt these kind of situational based questions. The tip that I want to share with you here is basically when you're attempting these kind of questions, imagine yourself in the role of a cabin crew. That will make your life much easier. Don't panic. It's not really about giving a solution. It's really about handling the situation, and that is what they want to see. They want to see how you handle that particular situation. So that's what the role play is all about. Also, as part of testing your language abilities, they might give you some sort of passage to read. Now it could be an announcement, it could be a passage, and they would ask you to actually read it out loud. And for countries that they're actually testing language skills like Hindi and Telugu, they might ask you to basically translate an announcement. So I remember one of my students actually shared that in Singapore Airlines interview, she was given an announcement and she was asked to do an announcement on turbulence and actually do the same announcement in Hindi as well. So there is a high possibility that you might be asked to do this in the British Airways interview as well, where they will ask you to do an announcement on turbulence and do it in Hindi and Telugu. So just to give you a very small example, if there's turbulence, the announcement would go something like this: ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing turbulent weather. Please remain seated on your seat and fasten your seat belt for your own safety. It's very simple. And if you want to translate it into Hindi, it would be, देवियों और सज्जनों, स्थानीय मौसम खराब है, आपसे निवेदन है कि आप अपनी कुर्सी पर बैठे रहें और सुरक्षा पेटी बांधे रखें अपनी सुरक्षा के लिए. So make it simple. You don't have to make it too complicated. Just have an idea what you want to say. Be very calm about it and things like that. I'm actually going to make a video on announcements sometime. I think that will give you a really good heads up on how some of the announcements are made on some of the flights. I think that will be a useful video. I will do that sometime soon. The next, we want to touch base on group discussions and group activities. Now, I've made a video on group discussions. Please go ahead and watch it. I'm going to link it up in this video as well, because these are the type of group discussions that usually happen in most international airline interviews. Usually you'll be given a topic. You'll be given certain situations related to the topic, and then you have to come together as a group and discuss. Now, some of the topics could be, for example, you're going on a flight and The catering tells you that we're not able to cater meals on time, so there will be a delay. And as a team, what are some of the things that you would do to make sure that your passengers are taken care of? That could be one situation. Another group discussion situation could be that you have to come up for a solution where you're building a new terminal in the airport, and you want to talk about what are some of the things that would attract the tourists and make that terminal very, very attractive. So that could be a group discussion topic. Another group discussion topic that could be possibly given to you would be that you were supposed to come back from a flight, and the flight landed really, really late, and the passengers missed their connecting flights, and now you're in a situation where you have to accommodate all of these people in the hotel and things like that. How would you go about handling the whole situation? So basically what you need to understand is, when you're having a group discussion, again, they're not really looking at you providing solutions to them. Please understand that, because the idea of a group discussion is not to see the solution part of it, but the idea of the group discussion is to see your teamwork abilities. How do you come together as a team? How much thinking do you do? How much prompting do you do? How much initiative do you take to work together as a team? How much are you ready to listen to your team members? How much do you want to contribute to the whole group effort? So that is what they're looking at. So please go ahead and watch my group discussion video, where I've talked about what are some of the unique ways as to how you can present yourself very, very well in a group discussion. You could also be given some sort of group activities or group tasks. For example, you might be asked to do an advertising campaign for the airline. You could be asked to come up with a new training manual for the airline. You could be asked to come up with some sort of training for one day for the airline. So these are some of the group tasks that they might ask you to do. Again, when it comes to group tasks, it's really about understanding whether you're ready to jump in, dive in. Are you enthusiastic? Are you ready for challenges? Are you open to change? Do you want to innovate and things like that? Are you passionate? Do you want to put in your heart and soul into the activity? It's not really about coming up with a fantastic training. It's not really coming up with a fantastic advertising campaign, because that's not your job at the end of the day. So please understand, whenever all these sort of interviews happen as part of the exercise, it's really to judge your skills. It's not really to find solutions. So that is one tip that I want to share with all of you. Basically, that's how the whole assessment process is going to be like. And of course, if you clear all these assessments, there will be a final round, which is usually a one-to-one round with the higher management, which is quite similar to any final interview for any other airline, where they will ask you a lot of different questions based on your resume. So make sure you read your resume very, very carefully. They'll be asking you a lot of questions in terms of your experiences. If you have a past job, they can ask you questions about your past job. They will want to ask you why you want to join British Airways. They can ask you about your strength, your weaknesses. They can ask you about, how would you handle a particular situation. They can talk to you about why do you want to become a cabin crew, and all these similar questions that I usually ask in final interview rounds. So again, as I said, this round is really, really important, which I always say in all my videos, because this round really decides whether they will hire you. So you want to put your best foot forward. Remember, again, they want to see whether you have it in you to become a cabin crew with British Airways. So you have to talk about British Airways. You have to kind of understand the vision of the company. What is it that they're looking for? And you have to bring forth those skills as part of your experience, as part of your answers, so that they can be convinced that you are that person who can become a cabin crew with British Airways. So that's how you want to basically attempt answering those questions. And of course, I have made quite a fair bit of videos on individual videos as to how you can answer these questions. I have made like a 10 question series as well, where I've talked about some of the important questions that people ask in these final round, and I'm going to make a few more actually. Going to be releasing them very, very soon. But yes, this is what I wanted to share with you. So that's how you want to attempt that particular round. So that's about it. This is the whole interview process, and if you get selected, of course, you will be given the contract. You will have to go through the medicals, and if you clear all of that, you would actually get hired. So I hope that helps for both my Indian colleagues who are going to go for the interview sometime soon, and of course for people in the UK or for the mixed fleet who are actually going to attempt the British Airways interview anytime soon. If you still haven't subscribed to my channel, please do remember to do that before the end of the video. Do press the notification bell for more video updates as well. I'll be posting a lot more videos about cabin crew interviews around the world, and of course you all know I do coaching, so do get in touch with me if you'd like to know about my coaching sessions. My website is listed below. You can fill up the pre-qualifier form and I can get in touch with you. And in the meantime, all of you out there, always stay pretty, stay handsome, and safe flights. Love you all.